dance relies on the physical presence of people together in the same room. Tough during a long year of social distancing and canceled performances. Yet choreographers continued to create new work.
But we keep going. We have, everyone has a mission and a sense of responsibility. As artists, what can we do?
In early 2021, 7 choreographers came to the South Orange Performing Arts Center, SOPAC. Here, they shared new works for a virtual showcase called Capturing the Moment. Burqa Patel, Naini Chen, Erin Carlisle Norton, Dare Ayarinde, Sai Chi Hung, Pallavi Degwakar Sheikh, Robert Mark Burke. All are winners of choreography fellowships from the New Jersey State Council on the Arts. The honor, and the cash, was especially meaningful during a difficult year.
This fellowship was really like the first time I was receiving a substantial amount of money for work that I love doing. And the biggest way that kind of changed everything was I was finally able to pay my dancers something that I felt proud to say I could pay.
On this special edition of State of the Arts, meet 7 of the most creative choreographers in New Jersey.
The New Jersey State Council on the Arts, encouraging excellence and engagement in the arts since 1966, is proud to co-produce State of the Arts with Stockton University. Additional support is provided by the Geraldine R. Dodge Foundation and these friends of State of the Arts.
Doing this and this, right, 3 of you. Yeah, over here. So you have a ta-ta. Yeah, reaching. So I know you start with different movements. Some of you roll your head.
Originally from Taiwan, choreographer Naini Chen has led her own modern dance company in the United States for over 30 years, creating work honored by multiple fellowships from the National Endowment for the Arts and the New Jersey State Council on the Arts. Some of her pieces draw from her heritage. She was trained in traditional Chinese dance and theater. In other works, Naini focuses on contemporary social themes, such as isolation or the quest for freedom. During the pandemic, Naini began working on a new piece over Zoom.
Going to go out to the second position.
After a few months, the company transitioned to rehearsing in person. And in 2021, Shadow Force premiered in a virtual showcase presented by the South Orange Performing Arts Center.
I create the spotlight, to light each dancer. There are 5 of them on stage.
The sky before sunrise is soaked with light.
My thinking was during the quarantine, we cannot go out. We all lock in, during the early pandemic time. But we all had this desire and yearning to connect with one another. So that's why I have the space designed that way to be very restricted, had them each one in their spatial spotlight.
The bygone lives are like my own past life, uncertain.
Space is very magical on stage. When you design it well, it can deliver the idea of isolation or create different world, a 3-dimensional space or 5 different worlds.
Naini premiered a second piece as well. Luminescence was inspired by a trip she made to an aquarium.
The most striking thing and the memorable experience was I see the collection of all different species of jellyfish. They are wonder. They are like another world. It really mesmerizing when you watch them move. Then you realize human, we are just one of the living thing on earth. We're not the whole world, okay? Sometimes we are so like, okay, we are the best. We control everything. But God created us. We coexist with other living things. We need to respect them. So it also made me think about environment protection. We really should show respect to all life forms on earth and then protect every living thing on earth.
Kathak is a form of Indian classical dance very much alive in the Indian diaspora, including in New Jersey. Pallavi Degwekar Sheikh began studying Kathak at age 10, inspired by her father and grandfather, both prominent musicians. Pallavi now creates transcendent new works, true to the spiritual roots of Kathak, as in this invocation to Lord Shiva, the supreme Lord who creates, protects, and transforms the universe.
Being Shiva, he is always enchanted with the words Om Namah Shivaya. So Namah Shivaya are the 5 letters. Namah Shivaya. So these are the 5 holy letters, and these are not just 5 holy letters, but they also represent the 5 elements of this cosmos, and also which are constituted in the human bodies. So Na sanctifies earth, Ma courses through water, She is invigorated with fire, Va represents air, and finally Ya is emboldened with the sky. So all these 5 elements are, of course, we say the origin is Lord Shiva. That is what is believed.
Kathak is a storytelling dance, but the dedication to the form is in itself an act of devotion, requiring years of guidance and practice.
We call it Riyaz. Riyaz means the practice, the sadhana, the devotion for your art form. So if, for example, I usually practice for hours every day. Sometimes if I'm running around, there is no time, then that is the time I skip. But I make sure that I do practice. That is my Riyaz time. That is where the chakras or the inner energies are rejuvenated. When I do my Riyaz in my basement, I'm completely detached with the outside world. I forget I have a daughter, I am married, I need to do grocery, I need to go do my classes, nothing, but I'm just dancing and dancing and dancing. And probably I think that's where that energy or that aura is created on the stage, and the audience can see that light or the aura, and the audience is also transcended along with it.
Transcendence through dance. It's a goal pursued by experimental modern dancer and choreographer Dare Ayarinde as well.
I do know that sometimes, when I'm in that space, I don't feel like myself. I know that. I know I don't feel like myself. I know I don't recognize the sensations that are happening inside of me. Sometimes I feel like I can't recognize my voice. Sometimes I feel like I can't recognize it, but it's happening in real time. So sometimes I call it spirit. Sometimes I call it ancestor. Sometimes I call it, I don't know, performance energy. But all I know is that it feels of otherness. Wale Soyinka, he's a Nigerian author who I really admire. He comes from part of Nigeria that my dad's side of the family comes from too. He says this thing like performance is where you meet the cosmos, and I didn't really understand it, so I started like reading more of his stuff, and he focuses a lot on like how performance in many cultures like really come from tradition, like come from like religion, tradition, ritual. So performance is like a space where you like get to interact with the cosmos. It's like when you step outside of like your way, like the known ways of your being, and you invite other things into the space.
In 2020, Dare was one of Dance Magazine's 25 to watch. But during the pandemic, his focus turned inward, creating what he calls a much-needed pause. After a planned live performance fell through, he and fellow dancer Sienna Blah made a film exploring subtle aspects of movement in the environment.
I miss being in the studio. I miss it, of course. But the pause is exciting. The mass death is not. The sickness is not. The disease is not exciting. The quarantine is not really exciting. The pause is exciting. I think it's giving me, it's widening my perspectives. It's like the cities, like you gotta hustle. Like besides being in a city, you're also a freelance artist dealing with 1099s. You gotta hustle. You gotta be on the go. You can't really chill. And when the pandemic hit, it gave an opportunity to step out of it and to like re-look at the ways in which I've been working, who I've been working with, and why, and question those things and make different decisions, or just like sit in the questioning.
Film found its way into other works by fellowship choreographers as well. Burqa Patel's piece, Bound, uses projected video and words from a poem by Lala, a 14th century Kashmiri poet who freed herself from an oppressive marriage.
I weep for you. You have lost your heart to Mr. Illusion? You have forgotten who you are. Who are you? And this iron anchor? Not even its shadow will remain when the time comes. Lalit, Lalit, Vade Bhavai.
The film,
Gently,
again, it was an experimental
I
choice.
weep for you, my soul.
I really wanted like that liberated self of my own self that's in the film. Like in the film, I don't think I'm playing Lalla. I don't know if I'm playing myself. I'm just being this very liberated person, I guess, yeah.
Burqa pursued her training in classical Kathak dance both in India and here in New Jersey. As a Kathak choreographer and performer, she's dedicated to continuing the tradition and to seeing where it will lead her.
A majority of my practice is in traditional framework. So when I'm presenting a Holi piece, I'm going to be very mindful of how we present it in a traditional form and then who in the audience is watching the Holi. Of course, even within that, I love to find ways to innovate or push the boundary a little bit creatively while staying within the traditional parameters, which I so deeply, respect. And I will say it's like, first and foremost, I'm a Kathak body. I've trained in it for 23 years and I continue to train in it. I try to bring, at least through my thematic works, a lot of like honesty, vulnerability, grit, and just embodied stories. So they can see that it always doesn't have to be a story based on mythology. It doesn't have to be a story based on a specific festival we celebrate in India. But if you mindfully create a work, you can do it from your own experience of your current times.
Tsai Chi Hung is a choreographer from Taiwan, now making a name for herself in the US. Just after she received the choreography fellowship from the New Jersey State Council on the Arts, her piece Brushstroke was chosen for the Joffrey Academy of Ballet's Spring Concert. It's one of a series of works on a theme. Tsai Chi also created a brushstroke duet with herself as one of the dancers. After that, she turned Brushstroke into a film, the first she had directed and edited herself.
Because this piece is kind of a little hard to me because I'm a choreographer and also I'm a dancer too. So it's hard to see the piece looks like. So we have to do a lot of videotape.
Tsai Chi is a choreographer, a dancer, a filmmaker, and a painter. She considers her paintings emotional notes that guide her when creating new dances, whether on stage or on film. Her paintings of faces fill the apartment where she spent so much time during quarantine. They inspired Tsai Chi to make another film called Woman during the early months of 2021.
And I just like, okay, maybe I can do something. Because of the COVID, I don't want to do group dance. So I go to each one my friend's house to filming and use the safe way. We before we film, we go test the COVID. Okay, it's okay, so we film it. It's 3 women. So these 3 women actually I don't give them too much words. I just say, do yourself. How you feel? Okay, right now. And I just use my camera. I'm a very quick person. So when I make a piece, I always it's like a painting. Okay, I have a whole image. I set up very quick. And I finish the whole piece. And after that, I watch every time so I can add something and cut something. It's just like a painting. Yeah.
Working during the pandemic has been difficult, and the return to the rehearsal studio slow. But it is happening.
Making dances right now is incredibly tricky. I needed to work with people who I could trust, people that I kind of were already in my bubble as we began to loosen up the reins, and also people that knew how I worked.
Robert is a dancer. He's worked with 10 Hairy Legs and the Megan Williams dance projects, but he's fast becoming known as a choreographer as well.
So I think I'm naturally drawn to bigger movement. I love to move big. I love to tear through space. And knowing that this piece was going to be done on a stage and not in a living room or a bedroom or, a bathroom, I wanted to make sure that the dancers had that opportunity to really take the space, because we don't know when we're going to be on a stage again.
By March of 2021, Robert and his dancers were deep into Passages, a new work in 3 parts that premiered on the SOPAC stage.
I really just wanted the dancers to soar and fly and feel like they can be lifted into the air and really like take up as much space as they wanted to do, because the stage allows us to do that.
The Moving Architects is a company known for its powerful, female-centric dance. The founder of the Moving Architects is choreographer Erin Carlisle Norton. A two-time winner of a choreography fellowship from the New Jersey State Council on the Arts, Erin was in full swing with a busy schedule in early March of 2020 when the pandemic hit.
When the lockdown started, I was doing a lot of teaching Pilates. I was doing an arts administration position as well, and the company was going, lots of rehearsals. We were planning a local performance in Montclair in March that we were getting ready for. We just finished APAP. In other projects of the company, I also have a dance podcast I do and a community outreach program. And so a lot going on, pretty busy. And I also have a family, so I also have a 7-year-old son. And so when the lockdown hit, of course, everything completely stopped. And just like everybody else, I thought it would last 2 months, everything would start back up, and it didn't.
Selah, Luke, and Lucas.
What started as a couple of months stretched on and on. But then Erin was hired to be the executive director of Dance New Jersey. It's an organization advocating for dance and dance education.
And so what Dance New Jersey has been doing is really being the support system for the dance community. And so besides doing a lot of professional development workshops, not just about, dealing with the dance field during COVID, but, all that's happening with diversity, equity, inclusion, access, all of that work and that cultural shift that's happening. So bringing professional development opportunities in those areas to everybody. And we do lots of we call them connection calls, where people come together from different parts of the field. We bring in different speakers. And so it has been really rewarding because I feel the New Jersey dance field has come together like never before. And I feel more connected to the New Jersey community.
As pods of dancers began to rehearse and perform together again, Erin brought the Moving Architects together for the filming of the Fellowship Showcase at SOPAC. Erin says that WALD is about boundaries and moving beyond them. It's something that all 7 of the choreographers we've met today are doing.
Where I call you the wind, and you call from upside it's time to go. Delicate wrist, waves, having something to find draped across things.
That's it for this special edition of State of the Arts, featuring 7 of New Jersey's most creative choreographers. Find out where to see these performances in their entirety by visiting stateoftheartsnj.com. Thanks for watching.
The New Jersey State Council on the Arts, encouraging excellence and engagement in the arts since 1966, is proud to co-produce State of the Arts with Stockton University. Additional support is provided by the Geraldine R. Dodge Foundation and these friends of State of the Arts.